Hi, and welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight is a bit of a true crime and chill, except it is very focused on what everybody is talking about right now, which is the Bryan Kohberger plea deal, as well as the Sean Diddy Combs verdict. So, the internet has been crazy in the last several days, and there's a lot of emotion going around and a lot of conversation, and I really wanted to have that with all of you. I know I always say, like, make this an interactive show. I want to hear from you guys. I really want to hear from you guys. There have been so many of you who have we've been messaging back and forth about the verdict. And I won't necessarily dox anybody's, I would never dox anybody's conversation, but I feel in both cases, what has been going on is just, it hits a lot of people to the core in many different ways. And I really want a platform tonight where we all can just talk about that and kind of be a safe space for that. So I want to hear from you guys. What is your thoughts on each of these? Obviously, with each case, I will go over what has happened so that if anybody is maybe out of the loop or not aware, then you'll kind of be up to speed on what has been going on. So that will be going on tonight. The door is open for the cats. So I know tonight will probably be a lot of heavy conversations, but the cats are in and out. I got Tuca right there in one of the cat towers. Selena is down there, which Selena is 100% back to normal. Oh, yeah. When your babies get sick, it's, where she goes. There she goes. Yeah, it's not a good feeling, but yeah, Selena's 100% back to normal over her upper respiratory infection. So, and it went to none of the other cats. So, yes. So, Beckham should be joining live tonight as well. As always, he will be fashionably late with whatever candle selection he has chosen. So let's just get the administrative stuff out of the way. If you missed the show on Monday night with Travis Myers from Another Nobody podcast, go back and check it out. Love, love, love having Travis on the show. He is such an amazing person with 1,000,001 stories. And y'all, he'll be back. He'll be back because there's just so much more to talk about. But in the meantime, as he says, do the right thing. Go over to his podcast and subscribe. He puts out episodes every week. They are awesome. Love, love, love his show. Thank you, Selena, for grooming right behind me as I talk about that. Sorry, Travis. It is what it is. Again, me and Travis will be at the True Crime Podcast Festival in like 2 weeks, I think it is, here in Danvers, Massachusetts. The website says it is Boston, but if you're from here, you know. But either way, we would love, I'll speak for him, we would love to meet you. We'll both have booths there at the True Crime Podcast Festival. So definitely, if you are in the area, check it out. Rumor has it that the Liz will be there one of the days too. So make sure to check that out. Beckham, I see you backstage. You're late. You have to wait. As always, if you are not following me on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the There's the Cameo page, the merch page, the Buy Me a Coffee page, so on and so forth. All of that information is down below. So make sure to check that out. Also, the July book club recommendations. I figured I would try something different this month and post a poll directly here on YouTube. So anybody feel free to vote which book that you would like to be a part of and read and review alongside me. Or if that's one where you're like, Danny, I want you to read that book, but I don't want to be on camera. Select the book, not a problem. Whichever book gets picked that month with the highest votes for July, we will definitely do that. So the poll is open. I believe I put until Sunday. I believe I put Sunday. So get your votes in. Again, there is a poll right on the post I did here on YouTube. If you watch, but you don't have a YouTube account, so you can't directly vote, send me an email, message me on Instagram, message me on Facebook, so on and so forth. And we will get your vote in. One of the books was recommended is on the Bryan Kohberger case, the Idaho for college student murders. So very interesting how that was recommended for this. And I put it up and here we are. So get your vote in. Now, to bring the show down a couple of notches. Hi, Beckham.
Hey, what's up, man?
Nothing, man. How's it going?
Good. I'm here.
Your camera is a little
we can start the show now.
Oh, thank you for your permission. I didn't know what to do. Thank you, Beckham.
I heard you talking about your studio.
My studio?
Or your table setup or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you were subscribed to the show, you would have already been listening and paying attention. But yes, the True Crime Podcast Festival in 2 weeks that I'll be at in Travis from Another Nobody podcast will be there as well, alongside so many other great content creators. So
you excited?
Excited, nervous. I keep having nightmares about it. Like I get there and I forget all my stuff, or I get there and it's already halfway over. That's how I am.
Hey, wait, what's making you like scared?
That's how I
you're gonna get stress. You're gonna get there and it's gonna be halfway over.
Yeah, that I'm having nightmares that like I get there and I'm like 8 hours too late or something like that. I have danced my whole life. I've danced since I was 4. About 2 weeks before every single show, I have nightmares every single night leading up. They changed the choreography and I wasn't there to learn it. I get to the performance and I left my performance outfits at home. Like that's just how I process stress. And I don't know why. It will be amazing. It will be great. It is what it is.
Just get there and give a handshake out. Give handshakes and stickers out. You'll be fine.
Oh, I have plenty of goodies to hand out. Yeah. A lot. Your girl went overboard, and on the stuff. So, and if you're like, Danny, what do you have? I'll post pictures. There'll be videos, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff to hand out for people that come. So, yeah. Anywho, Beckham, are you flying into Boston at all to come hang out and support your girl?
Who knows? Any surprises might just arise.
No, you know what would happen? Beckham, you would show up and I wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even show up to the podcast festival. I'd get a selfie of you at that bar in Boston. It would just be a picture of a cold Sam Adams.
That would be funny.
That's how I would know that you're in the area.
And that's probably what I would do. You'd be like, come. I would be like, when you're done there, come pick me up.
Yeah, you actually would. You actually would. Yeah. And you'd be like, Danny, get me a coffee. Like, be a doll. You haven't said that to me in so long, Beckham.
I haven't had the right opportunity. You just can't be throwing it around like $1 bills.
How far do I go with that?
Never mind.
Ooh, how far do I go? Shelly's in the chat. How far do I go with that?
You gotta save those for the all right opportunities.
Well, you know what, Beckham? No, you aren't an expert on throwing around $1 bills. You used to be an expert on throwing around T-shirts.
That's true.
It's so true. Anywho, didn't Travis call you a doll last show? He was so complimentary. It's the type of thing where, Beckham, you never give me compliments like Travis did.
What did I miss?
Oh my God, for Christ's sakes. You missed a real gentleman giving me a compliment.
Oh,
Wouldn't hurt you to do that every once in a while.
I know, but what did he say? Like, what was the compliment?
He said
you
several great things.
You have such a great show here. I'm honored to be here with you tonight. What did he say?
You were horrible because you were in the chat, which shows you were not listening. So, anyways, Beckham, what a week. What a week.
It's not really, it's only Wednesday. So it's, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
But think how much like has exploded. I thought things were going to, the Karen retrial, things were, we might have a little bit of a wait in like everything.
No, just everything just kind of came out pretty fast on late Monday-ish.
Yeah, for Kohberger. Yep.
Yeah. Right.
I felt so bad when I was on with Travis. People were in the chat like Kohberger. I'm like, we'll talk about it. I promise.
Yeah,
we'll talk about
it. It was coming out late Monday. It wasn't like morning news
or
midday news. It was late news.
Yeah. I went to the gym after work and then I got home and the only person that like blows up my phone is like you. It may be the Liz and a few other people, but it was like ping, 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 ping. And I'm like, something's happening right now. And Kohberger played. So we will get to that in one quick second. Of course.
Wait, I was going to say, well, I mean, okay, so it seemed later in the day, but because it was in Idaho, what time zone is Idaho?
That is a very good question.
I bet you a lot of people don't know where Idaho is.
I know where Idaho.
Man, I bet you look at a map, you're like, oh, I didn't know it was there. It's Mountain Daytime. Okay, Mountain. So yeah, an hour behind Central Time.
Thank you.
It's not too bad, but yeah, you'd be surprised. You'd be like, oh, I didn't know Idaho was there.
Have you been to Idaho?
No, I know they have the best world's potato chips.
Interesting.
Potatoes or something.
Everyone was looking forward to the Kohberger trial. Yes. So, all right. I know I wasn't able to greet everybody in the chat yet, so I do not want that to go overlooked. Oh, Tony Stewart, look, I accidentally gave you a star. Danny, no crime in starting early. Pun intended or pun not intended? I'll take the star back just because, but anywho. Hi, Tony Stewart. Good to see you. Wolf, can't believe it, Danny. Wow. Wolf. Right. Robin Owens, hey, how you doing? Long time no see. Hello, Crime Busters. Hopefully after July 23rd, we will to know the details of what happened, hopefully. I don't know. Hi, Kane. Good to see you. James Watson. Megyn Kelly just had an expletive-laden opinion on the Combs verdict. That's breaking news. Hey, Capone. Plea Diddy. We have to talk about a shirt that I heard was outside the court, and it makes me like beyond angry. But we'll get to that. K-Dog, Danny dressed all fancy. Thanks. This is called I volunteered at the cat shelter, and I was just like, I need to just like up at a level because I just, you know, chasing after kittens in a shelter. Yeah, they're cute and all. Kittens are a lot of work. They're messy and they're exhausting, but I love it and I would do it every single day. I am not back from a funeral, I assure you, unless it was our former friendship, James Watson. I don't know. Let's see. Selena appreciates that, Tony. She's right there hanging out. Richard, hello. Puffy used some of that baby oil to slip out of the most serious charges. At least that POS is going to be locked down until at least October. Well, not necessarily. No. We'll get to that.
We don't know what's going to happen.
Wolf, I'm still mystified by Kohberger. Mystified.
Why are you mystified?
It's shocking. It's
Why?
shocking.
What happened?
Beckham, we will get to that. We will get to that. It's not always all about you. Let other people have a voice. Hey, Corey Novak, good to see you. What's with the little crowns? Yeah, what's with the crown? What crowns?
Oh.
Did YouTube do something again?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with those crowns.
Okay, what crowns? What are you talking about?
There's like crowns after names ranking people.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Of course, mine's a gold with number 1 next to it.
Oh, okay. See, I'm on StreamYard, so I don't see that. I have a YouTube tab open, and now I see that. So, okay, YouTube took away those stupid random numbers that they had last week, right? And now they have crowns? Yeah, that's definitely a YouTube thing and not a Danny After Dark thing.
Mine has number 1 with gold crown on it.
Yeah, you can. That's definitely not a Danny After Dark thing because I would not have given you a crown, and I wouldn't have given you the number
I have
1.
a sword. Don't stop lying.
Oh, stop it. Wicked weird. Yeah, I have no idea what that is. No idea. Thank you, YouTube. I don't know. And by like next week, the crowns will be gone, I'm sure. I don't know.
Dan Quirk is like, where's my crown?
I'm mystified. I didn't even know there was crowns. Now I have the YouTube tab up. Fiddle doesn't have a crown. Like, how did they even? James Watson. Oh shit! I lost my crown.
K-Dog,
no, you figure it out. Let me know.
K-Dog's ranked number 3.
Every time I come in here, some weird shit goes up. It's
Kane
a YouTube
has
thing.
no ranking. King has no crown. Tony has no crown. James Watson doesn't care about a crown.
Because James Watson is a princess, as it is. Hi, Karen Diamond. Regarding the Diddy verdict, it makes a joke of violence against women a joke. I love seeing your beautiful cats on screen with you. Greetings to Mr. Beckham. Much love.
Yeah. It's a different rapper. Get it?
Little bit. About time the show arrived. Corey Novak.
Thank you, Corey.
Novak, calm down. I said he would plea and nobody believed me. Check the tapes. No, K-Dog, we ain't doubting you. This is just...
Hey, who sings that song? Ain't nobody hold me down. That's probably one of his songs. Dude,
I think I have that song on my phone.
Like this journalist lady on TV, one of the TV channels. Like she's actually from Dallas originally. She started her career in Dallas, then went to CNN, then has her own thing going on now. She really kind of she put it in a better perspective.
Matthew Wilder sung that song. Okay, continue.
She put it in a better perspective to like, okay, now I see what where the women got really ripped on the Diddy thing. What I mean? Yeah. So she put it basically in easier terms, and I was like, yep, that makes complete sense. Yeah. But I'll talk about it here in a minute.
Yeah, I want to get through and get up to date with the chat, and then we'll start with Kohberger. Robin Owens.
Guilty. I heard him say guilty. I heard him say yes 4 times.
His voice was nothing like I thought it would be.
4 times. 4 times, I think.
Hey, Shelly. Yeah, his voice was nothing like I thought it would be. Dan Quirk, hello. Everyone was looking forward. I know. William Eddy, hello. Time served is all he's gonna get. I know that's one of the concerns. Yes, Capone, that is 100% facts. Tip fans from Super Chats. Hey, Fiddle. Fiddle, did you change your last name on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it looked
Who's
weird.
McGugget?
Well, they found no evidence in his car, etc.
He
Was not
cleaned
his
his car, Wolf.
And why would a crime expert drive their own vehicle to a crime? Because I think they're invincible. I don't know. Pimping is a misdemeanor unless transported across state lines.
Dude.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Looks like you get points and stuff for posting in the chat. Oh, YouTube, for Christ's sakes. Y'all post as little or as much as you want in the chat.
It's a ranking system, I see. Like I said, I got a gold crown, number 1 on it.
Which, yeah.
I don't know how, but
Kohberger is compared to big time serial killers, but he got caught the first time he did it. Not impressive. The DNA on the knife, under the knife sheath, couldn't be explained away.
Some people still think he might not have done it.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole bunch of people, but he said he did. All right, so I think I'm caught up in the chat. So there's a lot that's happened with Kohberger.
You know why you say why he went ahead and he can't trust the jurors to send him to death.
I think there's a lot of opinions on. We haven't heard or seen all the evidence. So him and his team knew what they were up against.
We haven't even heard or seen all the evidence in Carrie trial, apparently.
Well, that's never going to happen. In regards to what really happened.
Right. Anyway,
so let's we're going to break for Kohberger, there's so much because this kind of goes back to Monday. So I'd rather have death than a lifetime in prison. Right. So
Capone doesn't think he was alone. What?
Let's kind of take
it my God.
Piece by piece, and then we'll kind of go from there. But again, in the chat, feel free to just go for it. So what happened on Monday? The news broke, like Beckham said, around the early evening, that Bryan Kohberger had taken a plea deal. So Kohberger's attorneys were the ones that went to the prosecution with the deal, and the state prosecutors accepted it.
The judge wasn't even there.
Huh?
I don't think the judge was around.
Well, they went to the prosecutors.
Yeah, he didn't learn about it till like the next day or something. I mean, you know what I mean? He didn't really know about it. Yeah.
Right. This was the defense, the prosecution.
Right.
Then the news went out before the judge.
The news went out crazy. The news got out, craziness, all that. The judge had no idea what was going on.
So Kohberger, in the plea deal, agreed to plead guilty to the murders of Kaylee Gonzalez, 21, Madison Mogan, 21, Dana Kernodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20. So the murders occurred on November 13th, 2022. In addition to pleading guilty, Kohberger will waive all rights to appeals, be sentenced to 4 consecutive, which means back-to-back life sentences on the 4 murder counts. In exchange, like Beckham said, he will be spared the death penalty. So before we get into the victims' families, because a lot of them spoke out and I went through and found as much as I could. But before we get to the victims' families' reactions, Beckham, what is your thoughts on the plea deal itself in regards to the defense, going to the prosecution, so on and so forth?
I wonder if it was the fact that they came out and said they had a prime witness to put him there. I wonder if that sent him over the edge over the weekend, you know, or maybe like gave him a lot of time to think about it, and maybe he just felt there was no, you know, maybe he felt he was in the weeds with it. You know what I mean? So, or again, he might have thought, if I fight this, maybe the jury might even, send me to death. So he didn't want to take a chance on the jury sending him to death. I still would have thought, and maybe I was wrong, that the defense had something up their sleeve, that they were going to present something, just because of some of the stuff that I've heard. really deep diving into this case, with some of the victims connected to certain types of, things.
Mhm.
But we won't know now because there's not gonna be no trial. The defense ain't gonna put nothing out there. Even the crime scene got, the crime scene, the original crime scene got destroyed, not destroyed, but they took it down.
Yeah, they demolished it.
They demolished the crime, the building, the
The
building,
house, yeah.
housing, yeah. So we're just not gonna know. We're not gonna know. Um, like you have a lot of people that are still unsure about the validity and the evidence, the DNA, how it's some of the evidence is spotty. Um, how can you have DNA here and you have other DNA there from other people? It just doesn't. The evidence that they had just wasn't come 100%, you know, there for you to just
That
to
we know
justify
of.
that we know. Well, right,
There
that we
was a
know of,
whole
right.
bunch
Well,
that
that's my point. We're not going to know. We're never going to get there because of
Mhm.
because he took the plea deal. So, I mean, what do you do? I heard him today. I was able to hear that part of the trial where I heard him accept it. Man, he said it, four
Mhm.
times. So it's gonna be now the only thing, going forward, the only thing that we might see different, that with at the official sentencing, you're gonna be able to hear from the family. So I think the judge will give them time to allow them to express what they're going through and what they're feeling. Um, but other than that'll be the most that we get, right? As after the post part of it, we're not going to learn anything really from the trial. So because there is no trial. So
Yeah. You make some interesting points. I also, for me, part of the thought process was this has been dragged out since 2022. So not only has this been dragged out for Kohberger, but dragged out for all of the victims' families, friends, the community, so on and so forth. So a lot of people have been every single day living this, like real life living this. We at the end of the day can turn off YouTube and go on with wherever we are, but for especially the victims' families, this has been every day. There's been things brought up by the defense along the way that has been so frustrating for these families. The change of venue that happened,
yeah,
Kohberger and his team filing delay after delay. They just filed a new one, and then the judge denied it. That was like last week or something like that. Kohberger with his alibi, when in reality it was stargazing. And not for somebody who's a criminal justice student, you would know the alibi that you gave is not an alibi. But I just find it very interesting, and kind of going off your point of yes, there are questions with what we've heard. And I know one of the things that you guys in the chat have been saying for so long, since day one, is what about the two women that were in the house that were not attacked? A lot of people had
there's a lot.
questions about
Yeah, there's a
that,
lot of stuff that doesn't make sense too. Right.
wanted to hear
Yes.
from them. They
Yeah.
were going to testify on the stand. Now they don't have to. So I just wonder what was it that sparked Kohberger and his defense team to say, we got to save your life and take the plea. What was it? Because there's been so much all along
Hmm.
where that
I just
I
think
don't understand.
I just think this was. I honestly think that I honestly think he didn't want to leave it up to the jury to send him to death. That's what I think. I mean, because if they would have taken the chance, it's so, some of the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming. On the flip side, some of what we know does not make any sense with, like, the roommates, especially the one that says, well, I made eye contact, but I didn't, they didn't call police for like however many hours. But then you'll have people say, well, everybody deals with trauma differently and this and that, and it's just, it just there's things that don't make any sense, and
Mm-hmm.
yet there's evidence that doesn't make sense either. Like I said with the DNA stuff, and so I mean, there's a lot of confusion to a lot of stuff within this case. It's you know, well, I mean, I'm not going to say it's unfortunate. It's not unfortunate. I mean, we're just not going to know. We're not going to find out. The families, you know, I'm not, you know, I think that they wanted it to go through the process. They wanted it to just go through the whole process so that
We'll get to their statements.
they felt confident that he would be, down the road be found guilty and get the, you know, the what do you call it, the life, I mean, the death penalty. So and some of them were not going to get that, you know. So
Yeah. So I do see y'all's comments in the chat. I will get to that. I do see there's a bit, you know, we all can have different thoughts on this case. So one of the things that I've always said first and foremost here is it's okay to have those different thoughts and to chat with us, me and Beckham, with y'all, with each other in the chat. I know I just want to give a bit more of a disclaimer than I normally do. You know, I feel like the topics of what's going on with the Idaho 4 case as well as Diddy, they're just ones that really bring up a lot of intense emotions and feelings, and everybody's validated that. I just want this to be a safe space. So just a reminder, if people disagree in the chat, we're all friends here. It's okay. We're entitled to have those differences of opinion. So, but all right, I just want to see where you guys are with kind of comments on this.
what has me, you know, it has everybody thinking, right, about it. Like, you know, you know, what makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that makes sense to me is that he felt that, you know, he didn't want to put it in the jury's hands. I don't know.
He must have really thought, and his team must have really thought, because if his team said, like, let's say he was having doubts and his team said, no, we have a solid case to prove you're innocent, even though it is Bryan Kohberger's call whether to.
Yeah, it's his. Yeah, it's his decision. But I mean, I can't give how I feel about it. Honestly, I'm not gonna say it, but you know, here, of course I'll tell you in private. But I just feel that they had something maybe, but it just wasn't. I honestly think he felt threatened by the possibility that the jury was gonna just give him the death penalty no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no going to be no better outcome for him than that. And I think he really thought about it when it came down to it. Took a few days, and that's what he went with. That's when he made the decision.
Which I go off of what you just said. What was it that then made, if that's what you're saying, like what happened?
Maybe it was the fact that all of a sudden they had this witness from another. She came from somewhere, and they were questioning her about something. I don't know if it's another case or something. Anyway, she was being questioned or something, and she's like, "Oh, great, you guys are gonna ask me about the Kohberger case that I, you know." And then she opened up about she saw him there and this and that, and she could put him there, and that came out maybe like a week before he made the decision. So maybe like 2 weeks ago, it came out and was out there for like 2 weeks ago.
And they also requested another delay that got denied.
Yeah, right. So I think that this witness coming out and just all of a sudden this stuff hits the fan where, hey, there's a witness now that can put you there and there's evidence to back it up. And I think that might have just sent him to that decision. But that's that's what I think.
Yeah. Tony Stewart News says Bryan had no emotion, had an ice cold stare when he was talking. I agree with that. Beckham, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I heard that.
Robin Owens, maybe he took the plea deal so his dad wouldn't get dragged into this. Does Idaho? Yes, they do have a firing squad. Dan Quirk, I wonder why he did such a thing. And part of the plea deal, Dan, is, and I'll talk about it a bit more later, he does not have to say why. Maybe he took a plea deal to save his accomplice, the BTK murder professor. Catherine Ramsland did give an interview, and I do have some excerpts from that in my notes for tonight. It's just so weird. Why would this guy murder mostly everyone inside the
I
house?
do have a question for the chat.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I just want to. Does the chat think he was alone doing this, or was there other people involved?
Okay.
That's the best you can. I mean, I don't know. I mean, at this point, that's the best you can probably get out of. Do people think he did it alone, or was he part? Remember, there's DNA to suggest that there's possible more people involved. But then people were like, well, what if there was people in and out of there? But yeah, I don't think it would have been, the evidence wouldn't have been that strong.
The knife sheath was damning.
Right, for him there, yes.
Right.
But the others involved, and that's what gives that surge of confidence to people to feel like he wasn't alone in doing it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I know there's some people in the chat who have all along said there might be someone else.
And
yeah,
before that came out, actually, there's been a couple of people in the chat who have felt that he wasn't alone in this. Way before that came out of the bag.
Mm-hmm. Which would be a fair question if you're considering one person versus 4 adult college students, and there wasn't a gun involved. There, you know what I mean? So I could see how someone might question that. Did Bryan have a conversation with any of the girls prior to the murders? That we don't know. Let's see. They had bogus stories, Wolf said.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Wolf. Not only how they reacted, how quickly they reacted, some of their some of their stories didn't make any sense. Good point, Wolf. That's another component that adds to that unsure feeling that they were telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but that's just reality. I mean, I know they have families and stuff that feel, again, sorry, but what happened? But a lot of the stuff doesn't add up, or it should add up pretty easy.
Right. In one of I just want to say that what the questions that Beckham you're raising, and that several of you in the chat are raising, and not just today, that you have been raising for months, over since we've been talking about this case for a couple of years now. And when something goes to trial, and it's horrible to think and say this, but it's just the reality of, do the victims do they get their personal lives get looked at and scrutinized and questioned and put out there for everyone? It is a fine line, because on the one hand, if, like Beckham says, if there is something on the victim's end, it needs to be brought in. But there's a fine line of, you don't want to, as the defense, overly attack, especially in this case, a murder victim or several murder victims.
Well, there's a fine line. Well, some people have. There's a fine line.
It doesn't play out well.
Well, yeah, but some people have, and there's a fine line there. This was after I had done the Diddy thing back in the fall, right? And I started going down this rabbit hole. There's people out there that have put together really good presentations about the what do you call it? The exodus, or the survivors, I guess, side, their backstories, and all the stuff, right? The survivors and people involved. And I almost started doing the deep dive, and I stopped because it was too much, and I just didn't want to go that route. But people have done it, and people have they've put together presentations, and it was pretty interesting to go. It would have been pretty interesting. I just didn't go. I didn't go further into it. It was good. It was kind of overwhelming. That's not just like, man, I'm just gonna stop right here. So I was like, I just didn't go. I didn't want to go down that road, down it. But
like you said, there are
yeah,
plenty of people who have. So if
yes, and
anybody
they've spent
does
the
want to go
time.
down that route,
Yes,
there's
there's plenty of
podcasts,
avenues.
YouTube
Yes,
channels,
there's
you can
people that
find
have
that.
done it. They've put together things. It's, if you want to spend the time to do it, go right ahead. Now you can go right ahead because this thing is about to be over now. But again, it would have been interesting. Imagine, okay, let's just say Kober had a team. I'm not trying to be funny, but just say it because I know Kohberger didn't. He had to take a, what do you call it? Not a public defender. He had a public defender.
Hmm.
But just imagine if Kohberger had Kevin Reed's defense team.
I don't think he would have fared the same way.
Okay,
Mm,
remember, a reasonable doubt.
I'm aware. I'm aware. The knife sheath. But anyway,
No, I'm sorry. I'm just not saying. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that he wasn't there. I'm sorry. I'm talking about to get the full story. If there
Mm.
was others involved, or what, or the reality of what happened, what led to it. That's what I'm talking about. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that he was going to be found innocent. I'm not. I wasn't
That
going.
is the question of
Well,
everybody
yeah,
wants to
yeah,
know
but I don't.
what led
Yeah,
to it.
no. I mean, I don't know. It would have been really tough with all the evidence stacked against him. It would have been tough to get him found not guilty. I'm
Mhm.
just talking about to get the full story, to get it all everything out there.
Mhm.
That's what I was talking about. Sorry.
No, sorry. K-Dog actually answered your question earlier before you posed it. I don't believe he had help. He would have incriminated them if that was so. Oh shoot! I just
Hmm.
stepped out over.
I don't know, man.
Discerning
He
light.
seems kind of
Hello.
quiet.
I also think it's
He,
off that the home was demolished so quickly. Oh, discerning light. That is definitely one of the things we've been talking about for a while here.
yeah, it's another. That's another key to that. They were that the prosecution or law enforcement was like, man, I don't know, this doesn't look right, even though we have the guy over here, but there's a lot of information here, and I don't know. You never know what could have happened, or what that decision was, why that decision was made. I mean, we know why it could have been made, right? To move forward, that kind of thing. But I don't know. It was odd to me that they made that decision.
Mm-hmm. So Dan Quirk says he murdered a bunch of sleeping kids in their own home, and then Capone, no way you sleeping multiple knife murders in your own home. That's one of the questions a lot of people have had. Yeah, Tony, that house being demolished, home was destroyed so that a jury couldn't get firsthand acoustics proving that the roommates had to hear the murders. We have talked about that for a
Yeah,
while now.
yeah.
That house getting torn down, but both sides agreed to it, which is wild.
Well,
There's
maybe
something like
Kohberger thought it was gonna help. It was gonna help him. I don't. Maybe.
discerning light thinks it's possible others could be involved. Mr. Beckham, other people involved, shady ass roommates, and possibly his BTK professor. Yeah, I don't think Catherine
Man, I'm
Ramsland was
telling
in
you,
on the
I'm
case.
telling you, those were that comment right there about the roommates being all of that. There's people that have put together uh presentations, podcasts, different things that really point to that.
K-Dog, reasonable doubt has to be reasonable. 100% agree.
Yeah.
Discerning light, excellent point. Apparently, when he was arrested, Brian asked something about was he the only one being
Yeah, that
arrested?
was odd too. Good
Right,
point. hmm Good
right.
point.
That
I
fooled
don't
him.
see him being I honestly don't if there was other people involved, I don't see him snitching, man. He's just different like that.
Hmm.
I don't know. I just don't see it.
Well, okay, even you saying okay, you just triggered so him when you said he's different like that. One of the things that his defense tried to do was the autism defense in
Yeah, he's
regards to,
different.
but
He's
part
different.
of that would have had to have been admitting to
hmm
then use that as not a justification, but part of an explanation and reason. But then that didn't make sense because they weren't admitting he did it. Back then when they were putting that out, it was wild. That fool did it alone. I just don't understand why anyone would do something like that. That last question, 100%. Carol Wayman. Hi, Carol. The DoorDash driver known as MM was arrested for DUI and said she parked next to him.
That's it.
That's what Beckham was
That's
talking
what I was
about.
talking. Yes, that's it. That she's like, oh my God, you're gonna ask me about that other thing, aren't you? Or something. She was telling the cop.
Yeah. Yep. No, just sounding like you're right. He might not be. DoorDash driver was mentioned in early police reports. She just went unknown until about a week ago. Right.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Wolf, there was some corruption in that Idaho town that got exposed. The state is surely happy that this is over. The state is probably very happy. The victim's family's not so much, but we will get to that. Are you implying that such a thing doesn't happen, K-Dog? Okay, well, drive safe, discerning light. Good to see you. Hard to explain.
Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, you're right, Dana. You're right. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't not there. I meant finding out the entire story, like through the trial process of like why it happened, if there's possible anybody involved, what they were going to answer to the other DNA, that kind of thing.
Has Bryan had any jail experience growing up? I don't know his history with that. I know he was an addict for quite some time, but I don't know if he actually served time in jail for that. That I do not know offhand. So if anybody does know, please, by all means, say in the chat. All right. So let's start to get to the victims' families and kind of
good point, Danny, real quick.
Yeah.
You said he was an addict for a while, right? So he's got experience in buying drugs, using drugs, correct? Major drugs. You would consider that a major drug.
Yeah, heroin's quite a major drug.
Yeah, and you would be getting it from a major drug dealer. Part of the rabbit hole stuff is major drug movement going through that town, going through certain circles of people. That's kind of what that had. So if he has that experience, that life experience of being a user of a major drug and dealings with people within that world, he could easily just find a way to fit back into that part of life, right? People that are in that world. He knows how it works because he was in it. He has life experience with it. So anyway, so that was kind of the thing of the down of the rabbit stuff. That there was major drug movement within the circles and things like that. So just going based on what you just said.
You guys. No, good point, Beckham. Yeah, Tony, thank you for bringing that up because that was a really good point.
And especially his personality, with him being so like socially awkward, he would have been able to at least maneuver somewhat in those circles because of his life experience prior. Did
you hear when he moved into the...
So do you see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he's socially awkward some, I get it. But that life experience would have been able to give him that confidence to go into those circles and feel free to walk through there and maneuver through that because of his past experiences that he actually had, that he didn't learn on a book, that he didn't learn on a TV. He lived it. So that was my point.
There was just to go off of that, because I respectfully disagree. One of the neighbors of like the apartment area where he lived at when Kohberger was moving in, it's come out that his dad went to this neighbor and basically was like, hey,
his dad was buying him.
Can you be friends with my son?
Okay.
And so the guy invited Kohberger to a pool party. There were people there. Kohberger took a bunch of pictures. So then I know a lot of questions have come up from, obviously none of the victims were at this pool party, but were there people who were at the pool party who on social media were then connected to maybe one or more of the victims? And that's been a question. But to get back to what we know, Kohberger's dad had to say to this neighbor, hey, can you be friends with my son?
Okay.
So I think that just, to me, speaks way more on the socially awkward
Yeah, I mean,
part of it.
it was just something, a thought that came to my head, that would have been like, hey, well, maybe that gave him a little bit of that, that confidence to be able to maneuver through that. So,
No.
if he didn't even have that, then he'd be really, really was stone faced through this whole thing.
Yeah.
No emotionless.
Yeah, so let's get to the victims' family statements, because there have been quite a few of them. So I put them in the order of when they were occurring. If I'm off by one or so, my apologies, but I tried to, like, as each family made a statement, try to get that. So let's go through all of their statements, and then we'll get to, like, the next part of this. So Madison Mogan, her father, Ben Mogan, said that he was relieved to receive the letter regarding the plea deal that would keep Kohberger in prison for the rest of his life without the possibility of parole. Quote, if you get that quick death sentence, you don't have to spend decades thinking about how terrible you made the world. We can actually put this behind us and now have these future dates and future things that we don't have to be at, that we shouldn't have to be at, that have to do with this terrible person. We get to just think about the rest of our lives and have to try and figure out how to do it without Maddie and the rest of the kids, end quote. Kaylee Gonzalez. So the Gonzalez family said they did not approve of this plea deal. So this was one of the posts on social media that I saw go around like rapid fire. So their post Monday said, quote, we are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us. Please give us some time. This was very unexpected. We appreciate all of your love and support, end quote. Since then, the family has made several more statements to several different news outlets. One of them was, quote, they weren't even called about the plea. We received an email with a letter attached, end quote. Another statement from their family, quote, after more than 2 years, this is how it concludes, with a secretive deal and a hurried effort to close the case without any input from the victims' families on the plea details. They said victims' families had been treated as opponents from the outset, end quote. Another statement they made, quote, they will not stop fighting for the life that was stolen unjustly. We stand strong that it is not over until a plea is accepted. At a bare minimum, please require a full confession, full accountability, location of the murder weapon, confirmation the defendant acted alone, and the true facts of what happened that night, end quote. Aubrey, Kaylee's sister, made a statement that said, quote, they were sons, daughters, siblings, and friends, real people with real dreams. They deserve to be remembered for who they were in life, not only for the tragedy of their deaths, but before that can truly happen, they deserve justice, end quote. She also mentioned that even if Kohberger would be jailed for life, that he, quote, would still get to speak, form relationships, and engage with the world. Meanwhile, our loved ones have been silenced forever, end quote. Steve Gonzalez said, quote, Idaho has failed. They failed me. They failed my whole family. It's my daughter. It's our children. How can you say it's just when you haven't even talked to us to see what justice looks like for us, end quote. In regards to a later meeting with the prosecutors, Steve said, quote, they told us it's not really about us. It's about their process. Just shut up and get on board and deal with it. That's really what they told us, end quote. Couple more. Xana Kernodle. So the Kernodle family expressed frustration. It said that prosecutors had floated the idea of a plea deal just a few days prior. However, they being the Kernodle family, strongly opposed it as they wanted Kohberger to face a jury. Kim Kernodle, Xana's aunt, told the media that the prosecutors claimed the plea deal was in order to, quote, spare the families, end quote, the pain of a trial and prevent them from seeing the gruesome crime scene photos. Kim responded with, quote, we know the graphics. They were not trying to spare us, end quote. All right. Quick pause before we get into a little bit more about the plea deal. So, Beckham and everybody in the chat, we just heard a lot of different views from the victims' families, most of them opposed to this plea deal for various reasons. What is your thoughts on this, Beckham?
They wanted it. I mean, mostly eye for an eye, man. It's just, you feel, like I said, you feel for the families because I guess, that's their their loved ones are no, like that one quote, our loved ones are no longer, I'm not sure how it went, but like they're no longer here and that kind of thing because of this senseless act, which which of course it was. And it's just really, you do feel for them. And just going back, they're going to have their day in court to the point of they're going to be able to really announce to the, to everybody how they truly feel during the sentencing. The judge is going to, I believe, going to allow that part of it, that to go, So, but will it be enough for them for closure? They, you can really get that feeling that they wanted for him to experience the same that their loved ones did.
Mm-hmm. I just want to, there's never closure, but
no, I mean, I meant just in the sense
a lot of them want answers. And based on the plea deal,
I mean,
they're not going to get it, which is, it's very frustrating. And regardless of, obviously, for example, Ben Mogan, Madison's father, was relieved about the plea deal. And the points that he makes in there are, when I was reading through each one, it's just like my heart broke for everybody. And I see everybody's point here. And they're all right, and they're all valid, and they're all entitled to have that. On the one hand, Ben Mogan makes a great point of and we've seen this, I know it's totally different case, but with the Manson case in regards to the victims' families, every time, there's parole hearings all the time, even if we're just looking at one of them, right? We're not looking at all of them. We're just looking at one. Every several years, there would be a parole hearing. So it's like reliving, having to go to this. And, for Ben, they don't have to deal with that. It's just over. On Bryan Kohberger's end, it's just over so that they can kind of try to piece together how to move forward now, like he said, without Maddie and without the rest of them. And one of the things that he says in his statement is without Maddie and the rest of the kids. And, on the one hand, yes, they were, 19, 20, 21 years old. They're kids. Yes, they're adults, they're kids. And, when you're in college, you think you're an adult and, the world's at your fingertips and you're a kid.
Well, you feel invincible sometimes.
Invincible, yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. And, I see you guys in the chat. We'll definitely get to those in a moment. This was one of the parts where a lot of the messages that I got from people were a mix of either I have kids college age, or I have kids who just graduated college, so it hits a little bit closer to home, or I listen, I watch your channel, and my sibling is in college, and this kind of it could, point being where it could have been anybody. And I think that makes it very scary for a lot of people. And yeah, it makes us think that, crimes like this do not happen in Idaho, in Moscow, Idaho, until it did. It just shows that nowhere is safe and immune from this. And that's just so scary. It's so scary. All right, so let me see where y'all are in the chat in regards to, the victims, family statements. At the time of kind of wrapping up notes for tonight, I kept hitting refresh on my phone, trying to see if any of the victims' families made comments about what happened today in court. I didn't see anything. Beckham, did you see anything at all?
Oh,
All right.
no. Man, it's tough to like make sense of it, Danny. It really is, especially like, I mean, in college, I lived in a frat house similar to that house. It was always open, people going in and out all the time. The doors were over. We never locked the doors during that time. It was just 24/7, you know. But anything could happen. You're right. I mean, anything could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just an unfortunate incident because I think not, and that was in my own little world, my own little college town, There's a million college towns like that, millions of college kids that live that way at that age. You just feel comfortable amongst your peers, right? You're just living living your life. Um, and especially during breaks, right? Winter break, summer break. I don't know if this was over winter break or not. I don't know, but
No, it was right around Thanksgiving.
okay. Yeah, well, it was wrapping up. I mean, you're getting
Yeah, the
right there.
semester was going to be
Thanksgiving.
wrapping up,
You might have the
but it was still
finals.
ongoing.
Yeah, you'd have the finals in like 2 weeks, and it was over. You were looking. I was just saying they were looking forward to the Christmas break, which is a month long. You get laxed, you get loose, that kind of thing, right? So, you get excited. But yeah, I mean, just like I said, millions of college towns like that, and there's no that's the thing because everybody wants to know why, because out of all the millions of college towns like that, it just happened to be this one, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And out of all these years, every year there's stuff just happening like that. It's just the way it is. The house is open 24/7. People are coming in and out. You hang out for a while, you leave. You go to sleep, you wake up, somebody else is just getting there, bringing you breakfast or whatever, and the day, it's just a revolving door. So it's just unfortunate that it happened at that, it happened there at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and exactly what you're describing right there. Like that's so many of the experiences college kids go through. I mean, I did myself. I was very fortunate to live in a suite with like amazing friends. And yeah, and then right before I graduated, it was still an on-campus apartment, but it was just off of where like a lot of the undergraduates were. And so it was kind of cool because we were kind of separated from everything, a bit more independent. But like, yeah, it was that the door to the building was just always open. And yeah, our individual apartment was locked, but to get into the building, anybody could have walked into the building. That's just how it was. And it was safe.
Yeah, I mean, like seriously, like, what are you gonna like? Yeah, I mean, we didn't. I mean, we didn't. We were college kids. What are you gonna steal?
Right.
I mean, we don't have any. I mean, we have just as much as you have. We're not.
It just shows
You know what I mean? Like we had this huge TV, one of those big like flat screens, but it was like it weighed back then. It weighed like 1,000 pounds. Who's gonna steal that? No, you know what I mean? You're gonna need you're not gonna steal it. But
right.
yeah, you're just like.
And
Again,
that's like the most pressing thing you would think of.
Yeah, right,
like, oh,
right. Like, who's gonna steal the TV? No one's gonna steal 1,000-pound TV, right? Like,
Yeah.
but like, like again, you like you said, you feel you're young, you feel invincible, you're just living your life. And I'm telling you, man, they were probably excited as a holiday. There's a Thanksgiving a time, Christmas is around the corner, winter breaks around the corner. You're getting excited. Holidays, Christmas, whatever. And it's just unfortunate that it happened.
Yeah.
That it happened there.
Yeah.
It could have happened anywhere. It could have happened any college
100%.
town like that, because it's the same way, and it's probably still the same way. You can go to any college town right now, right this minute, and there's going to be a house of college kids living the same way.
Yeah. So Dan Quirk says the state of Idaho doesn't have any money to prosecute the case. It all boils down to money. That's one of the things that's been a topic of conversation of, oh, well, it saves the state and the taxpayers X amount of money.
Sure.
That's one of the big things that's been a focus. Robin Owens thinks that Kohberger was after Maddie. Prosecuting that case through a jury trial would cost a ton of money for them. Oh, and absolutely. And, he took a plea. So the writing was on the wall that he would have been found guilty. And there's appeals.
You can't say that, Danny.
And
You
guilty
can't say that.
Innocent.
God.
But
what's your saying? You have to prove you. What's your little thing you say all the time?
Guilty until proven innocent.
Or I don't know. Yeah, something like that. But you just basically said the writing was on the wall. He was guilty. You're not going to get put on a jury.
From day one, and he said it today. So
you're not going to get put on no jury like that.
Oh God! Oh, I got the one time I went for jury duty. We can, if we have time later, I'll tell the story about the one
now
time.
You better put that you're on a. You have a little podcast. You can't be on no jury no more.
Oh yeah, no, I would never get picked. But yeah, no, the one I tried to serve and was very, very excited to do so, and made it very clear I didn't agree with the jury, the way the court was handling themselves, and the judge wanted to speak to me and told me to leave, and it was a big to-do. But I'm like, I stand by what I said. Anyway, okay. But yes, the money factor. K-Dog, does he have to make a statement on what he did that night? I will answer that in one moment.
Ooh.
I will answer that in one moment. Obviously, we saw today what happened. Did he make a statement on what he did?
Yes.
No.
Do you plead guilty? Yes.
Yeah, all he did was say yes 4 times.
Guilty? Yes.
No, and that was part of the deal. Right. Yep. I have more info on that. We'll get to that one second. He should have to at least explain what he did and why. Dan, I 100% agree with you. Part of the plea is he does not have to say why. Robin Owens, we want to know the motive. I mean, yes, we as society want to know why this horrific thing happened. The victim, even if they keep it private to the victims' families should be told the why. Just so whatever they need to move forward in whatever way moving forward is even possible with what they've endured, they deserve that. And the really sad thing is they're not going to get it. And that is shitty. That sucks.
Really, the only thing they're going to be able to do is have their say in that during the sentencing.
The details would be tough for a family member to have to listen to. K-Dog, you're 100% right.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea at this point. Let's just, he's going to get his life sentence, and you get your day to express how you feel to him and face him and that kind of thing. So.
But it also, it's easy for us to say, like, it would, would it be, if one of us were in their place, would it be tough? 100%. But as the victim's family, they should make that call, whether, it's going to be tough, but are they like, it's going to be tough, but I'm going to sit there and I'm going to listen to every detail of what happened. Like, give them that opportunity to either listen or not listen.
Yeah, that's tough.
Give them that opportunity, and they were that was taken away from them.
Right on. Robin,
Maddie's parents are fine with the plea deal, but Kayla's are not. That tells me something. Well, Xana's wasn't either. Ethan Chapin's was. I did not see a single statement from Ethan Chapin's family. Let's see. We probably wouldn't understand the motive of a psychopath. No, and Dr. Catherine Ramsland has been trying to write about that for decades, and we'll get to her statement because she did go on an interview and make a statement.
Who?
Dr. Catherine Ramsland. She was his professor.
Oh yeah.
He worked with
That's
wrote a book
crazy.
with
I wonder what she has to say.
Yep. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Okay, people are in the chat are talking amongst themselves about like locking their doors, so on and so forth. Yeah. No.
Oh, you better lock your door now. I mean, if you have, you own your home or whatever, lock your door. I was talking from the perspective of college towns and college students that live together and frat
Right.
houses. And I mean, sorority houses, I think they go on. Frat houses are honestly left, they're open all the time. Sorority, I think they're structured to lock down, like, hey, let's lock the house down, for obvious reasons, you know what I mean? So
No, I dated a frat guy, and
yeah, so usually the frat houses are open
doors are
24/7.
open.
Yeah, but
There's locks on them.
I'm talking
but they're
about
left
like the
open.
living rooms are open, everything, but like maybe
Mhm.
the bedroom could be, you could lock your bedroom door, of course, but the sororities, I think, have a thing where they lock down, you know what I mean? And there's a protocol if they're out late to get back in. I think they have their own protocols for that.
Do you know that from personal experience?
No, I'm just saying.
All right, Shelly's in the chat. You can tell me the real story later. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Robin says, if my child was murdered, I want to know what happened. I would be happy with the plea deal. 100%. Fiddleford is going off of what you're saying, Beckham. Gonna steal your drugs and booze, maybe your N64. You're such a nerd, Fiddle. You are such a nerd.
No, like there was no drugs there. We might have had alcohol and the PlayStation, 2s, but that was, I mean, everybody had PlayStation 2. What are you gonna steal? You're gonna steal the same stuff you own.
Mm-hmm. Shelly says the terribly sad thing is that there's not really a safe place, and what's even more sick is when it's on a college campus.
That is true.
Very well said. Kane says Robin, yes, Kane would want to know as well. So that's why I think it's weird that Meddy's parents, like the plea deal. What was the motive in Kohberger's ass? Hi, Sam Smith. Part of the plea deals, he does not have to say why. So that is the question we all want to know. I hope Danny isn't on the jury when I come up for trial in Boston. Don't worry. Just say you know me, and I won't be allowed on. Will he be allowed to ever do interviews? Good question.
I heard that that's part of the deal. He won't be able to, make money off of anything. So I don't know.
Well, technically, because of the Son of Sam law, no one can make money off of their crimes.
That's yeah. But
I did not see anything specifically with that caveat, Kane. So that is a very good
Sam,
question.
we don't know. Some people say he knew them. Some people say he picked out a couple, or he picked out one of the girls.
Hey, Psycho Platters.
Hey, Psycho.
Beckham's college door was wide open. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dude, I have a funny story about that, but I don't even know if I could talk about it on here.
Then don't do it. I don't want to.
But it is funny though.
I've heard the college
and
story.
My college door. It's funny.
Zed. Oh, I'm gonna totally butcher this name. Zed Syed. My apologies for mispronouncing. Son of Sam Law. Yes, exactly. Thank you and welcome. Let's see. The Son of Sam Law. Yeah. I would also like to hear about Beckham's party panty raid. You know what? Well, if there's a separate episode where you guys want to hear about like the good old days,
dude,
for Beckham and Danny.
So I won't say any stories, but this is a true story. I was in bank fraud at the time, not the government yet, and I was working for a big bank, and I was helping investigate as part of a fraud team, a pretty big case. So we all got flown into New Orleans, put up in nice everything to work this case, and then at the end of the case, it was kind of like, hey, thanks for coming out. It was kind of one of those dinner things with me and one of the executives. And I thought we were going to talk, a little bit of shop, how the case, what we found, that kind of thing, right? It was kind of like a few hours before my flight to head back to Dallas. And I was blown away that all he wanted to know, because he knew that I was, I was in a fraternity in college and all that kind of stuff. And maybe I don't think he kind of looked like he wasn't, and he might not have had that fun college time, but that's all he wanted to know was my stories. That's all he wanted. He just wanted to talk about my college experience, and it was just kind of funny. I don't know. So I just remembered, what can I tell this guy? This is like an executive of, and I'm like, I can't be like completely open, like tell him every, you know what I mean? Like I was like, I had to pick and
Right.
choose maybe like what stories and what maybe just keep the funny ones or something. But anyway, I just thought that was funny.
Oh, that wasn't as juicy as I thought it would be.
No, I can't. No, I mean I
That's
can't.
all
Yeah,
right.
it was just funny.
All right. So I think I'm caught up with y'all for that. So a lot of the questions that you guys have been asking in the chat, and I can tell some of you are already aware that.
Yeah, that's a trick, Shelly. I'm not gonna say it.
It's okay. I promise I won't
Yeah,
be
no.
mad. So in regards to the plea deal, a lot of you in the chat have been saying like, why, details. I 100% am with you, and I 100% agree that, again, do we as the public and society need to know? No. Do the victims' families deserve answers? Yes. So going into court today, so what was known about the plea deal was prosecutors added the caveat that if Kohberger does not accept the plea agreement as expected, then they said, quote, we are prepared to proceed to trial as planned, end quote. So Kohberger, what he would have had to do is establish the elements of the crime. For example, the dates, locations, and acknowledge that he committed the crimes. As we've talked about here, kind of sprinkled throughout the episode, he does not have to explain why he killed these 4 University of Idaho students. So if going into today, if Kohberger did enter into a guilty plea, the sentencing would be in late July. In the state of Idaho, it's also worth noting, a judge has the authority to reject plea deals. So the letter that was signed by the Moscow prosecuting attorney, Bill Thompson. So this is what we knew going into today. It said, quote, and I'm curious y'all's thoughts on this, especially after what we've heard from the victims' families. Again, prosecutor Bill Thompson said, quote, we cannot fathom the toll that this case has taken on your family. This resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. This agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted, will spend the rest of his life in prison, and will not be able to put you and the other families through the uncertainty of decades of post-conviction appeals, end quote. What's your thoughts on that statement from the letter?
Yeah, it's kind of deep to me. So
it seems to kind of echo a lot of what Maddie Mogen's father had said into why he was okay with the plea deal. It's
okay. Okay, so I'm going to copy a message from somebody that. Okay, so what if one of the victims was targeted and the others were just collateral damage, and you're gonna have you're gonna have family. You could have family friction there. So it makes it really difficult, man. I honestly think by them just getting the way it's gonna happen, the way that you can't change it, right? You can't change the outcome anymore. He plead guilty. He's gonna get life. But by the fact that the judge is allowing them their day during the sentencing to come forward and say whatever you want to say, that I think that's good enough. Mm-hmm. Because we don't know what triggered it. We don't know what happened, and you could literally you could be pinning family against family here.
Interesting point.
Oh yeah, I mean it is a point, because you could start having families blame somebody else.
It does, but I don't see that because none of the victims are to blame in this. It's Kohberger.
We're not saying that. That's not the point. The point is that if one of them was sought out for whatever reason, or 2 of them, and the other 2 were just there innocent, completely innocent. We don't, like I said, that might have came out had we had a trial. Then you're gonna have to. Then you would have had friction. Oh, you would have had friction. And that's just human. That's just humans.
I wonder if the prosecution.
You would have the blame. You'd have the blame game going on there.
But one of the things. But would the prosecution have put forward who the do they have enough evidence as to who the intended victim and target was?
That would have been something. That's an unknown factor in a mathematical equation. That we don't have enough of X and Y to really come out to Z, because that's something we don't know. But again, the prosecution would have really had to kind of strategize around that, I think, to keep that safe, right? So that would have been kind of hard to do, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been really difficult to do, to safe harbor the reasoning or to figure out why. That would have been really kind of difficult to do.
So let's see what you guys are saying here. Sam Smith says Kohberger's acts are not like the typical serial killer. He reminds me more of Richard Speck. Yes, I covered that case. Yep, who killed 8 nurses at one time in Chicago.
What was Speck's deal? What was his MO or whatever?
Go back and watch the episode. It was a crime of opportunity. He knocked on the door, was
just getting a rise out of it,
door, and he got in, and there was actually 9 nurses there, but one of them hid under a bed, and he lost count, and she survived. But yeah, that was a brutal attack. But so interesting that you kind of make that connection between Richard Speck and Kohberger. Very interesting. Tony, oh yeah, he sure does. I know quite a few, but I am sworn to secrecy. Fiddle says, Beckham, can't you tell that he ran an underground street racing? I don't know what the heck you're talking about, Fiddle. Fiddle, I expect confusion of comments from Paulcast, not from you. I expect clear comments. James, does he classify as a serial killer, though? Allegedly one act of killing several people. Technically.
Oh, that's a good question. That answer.
Mass murder, not serial.
Oh, right, there you go.
Smith. Right, Sam Smith. Thank you.
That's a good point, guys, because I wouldn't have thought that.
And they call Manson a serial killer, which is bullshit. Technically, Manson. Look at Sam Smith breaking it down for everybody in the chat. Technically, that much range makes me think a verbal thing between Bryan and one of the girls had to happen. Interesting touch. Corey Novak. I don't know whether to time you out or give you a star for that.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.
Beckham, how much did you pay him to say that? Inquiring minds want to know. Let's see. No proof he personally killed anyone. I think you're talking about, okay, you guys are talking about Manson and comparing it. Okay. Okay. So Dr. Catherine Ramsland, she has been brought up several times in the conversation throughout tonight. So again, she is an author, well known in her field. She wrote the book with BTK, Serial Killer. I do have that book. I recommended it in a book review a long time ago on my channel. So she has been under a gag order. So she has not been able to say a word about this because Kohberger was one of her former students. But as of what happened with him taking the plea, she's finally able to speak. The twist is on where he went to college, in the state that he went to college, there's a rule where she can only say specific, only give kind of vague, non-specific answers in regards to Kohberger, because he would have to sign a release otherwise for her to kind of give more information. It kind of protects the student's privacy, which makes sense. So what Catherine Ramsland, and you guys can look this up and watch it for yourself. I actually did so this morning. I watched it. So what she said was she met Bryan Kohberger in the fall of 2018. He had an associate's degree and was going into the psychology program at the school that she taught at. He selected the forensic track in the psychology program, so that made him an advisee because she manages that program. She said he was polite, respectful, intense, curious, and eager to be in the program. In regards to when she found out he was arrested, she was disappointed. And she says she was, quote, floored and didn't believe it, end quote. So what she was then talking about was once we started to see more of him on social media and in the news, the demeanor that he was giving, that she saw on camera, that he was so confident, and for her, that was like, what's going on here? I want to kind of wait and see more. When he said he had an alibi and then wasn't giving it, and then later on gave it, aka the whole stargazing thing, she said that's when she realized that this is my student and he has done these things. And I thought that was very telling, because she even said somebody that went to school for what he did would have known that the alibi he gave wouldn't have held up. So why even give that? In regards to one of the questions that the interviewer asked was, would you want to study him? Would you want to study Bryan Kohberger? And she said she would. She said if he wanted to do that, that she would. And she said that she'd actually been thinking about that for the past 2.5 years. A lot of the way the interview ended was basically the interviewee saying, interviewer, that he had questions about what kind of everybody's thinking. How did one get by her? And how, was there something that she missed? And the way that she said it, because that was one of the things I thought too, was she studies this. Like, this is her
Danny,
expertise.
real quick before you put what she said there.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think part of me thinks that part of him doesn't believe he did it. In his own mind. I think he's like in this cloud of like, is this even happening? Why am I even here? Like, he's just existing but not existing, if that makes any sense.
His actions after, though, say different.
I know. I just think he might have like a different, like a split thing with his personality. I don't know. I'm just thinking that. Like, I still think part of him doesn't believe it's really happening. He got caught, and it's just like he'll have moments of realization, and then he'll have moments of like, I don't know, just maybe a lost. Just
the only thing I think
varying.
he's thinking is, damn, I dropped that knife sheath.
I don't know
I'm
if he's
being
that.
serious.
I don't know if he's that egotistical, man. But I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Like, I could have gotten away with it,
But yeah, but
if I didn't lose that.
He's just he hasn't really shown any emotion, so I haven't seen that egotistical aspect to it. And maybe she has. She spent time with him, right? So maybe she's seen different sides to him like that you're describing.
Yeah. So let me finish out what she said, because this was the last part of the interview. And again, this was because the way the interviewer asked, I was like, yes, that's what I want to know. Thank you for asking. And her answer back, I was like, got it. So what she said in response to, like, how did, people were like, how did he get past you? How, type of thing. But he worded it a lot more gently than I am. I'm just paraphrasing. But basically, she said, if someone is presenting themselves as a normal human being, it's hard to see that. As a teacher, I'm not initially suspicious that students are there for the wrong reasons. I have to say, that's an excellent answer.
Can you read it again?
Yeah. If someone is presenting themselves as a normal human being, it's hard to see that. As a teacher, I'm not initially suspicious that students are there for the wrong reasons. One of the examples that she gave, like maybe 30 seconds before she made that statement, was, in regards to, oh my God, could I have given the, in my teachings, like, well, not the word made, but led him to be a serial killer. And she's like, but on the flip side, the way I teach, there have been 3 people that now went into the FBI for their career for that.
That's egotistical. I don't know, man.
That's what she said.
That's a dangerous line to talk about.
That's what she said.
Wow.
But I liked what she says is,
Ooh.
as a teacher, I'm not initially suspicious that students are there for the wrong reasons. Because a
No, she
PhD
can't. She
program is
can't.
no joke. This isn't like a
She can't.
weekend course anybody can sign up for
No,
and
no,
get
this was
the
a
information
this
they
was a
need.
gradual formation. Right. This is a gradual, you know,
Which to
process that
me
he went through.
shows a lot of time and commitment.
Sure, of course. I don't know, man. I honestly feel like, I just think, like I said, but he's stoned to me. Stoned face. And
Mm-hmm.
I think part of, like, if I could probably write about it. I could probably do a whole paper on this. I haven't even spent time with him, but honestly think he's just like, part of him doesn't think he's there. Part of him doesn't even think that it's really happening, and it's just going through the motions. And then another part of him really, again, like you said, like, wanted to get away with it, wanted to do this with it, wanted to do that with it, wanted to feel that successfulness of it, right? I think there's a split here within himself. That's what I think. But from her comment to end that quote, wow, that's crazy. It's almost like she rubbed off on him now that I think about it.
I didn't quite take it like that, but
I
I can
do.
see where you say that.
I do. And I
Of
could
course you see where you say that.
I could just write on that alone too, on what she said and how she preceded him to, I could lead a student that direction. I'm that confident in my ability to teach.
No. That's not what it was like. Could I have? Not
Well, could I?
could.
Okay. I'm sorry. She didn't take
Big
full.
difference.
I could have. Okay. At the same time, that matches with what you said, how you see him. I'm taking from what she said and how you perceived him, and I'm combining the two, and there's a perfect match. And I'm out. Y'all, man, God, Mom just blew the whole thing out here.
Beckham's
All right,
like,
everybody have a
mic
good night.
drop, click. All right, so Wolf says, so she believed for a long time. Interesting, that alibi was given a while ago. Capone, don't believe her. All right. All right, you guys are talking a lot about the Manson case. That's totally cool. Feel free to do so.
Man, they're just missing out. What we just talked about just went over everybody. Like, it's a lot deeper than with a Manson thing.
That's what the replay's for.
Oh my God, y'all just missed all of this stuff.
That's all right.
God.
That's all right. Replay. People are free to talk about whatever.
But that's crazy. Seriously, in this moment that you read that to me, how she responded to him or about him, and that quote, and how you literally just answered how you saw him. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's
nope, that's all right. So we've been talking about this for an hour and a half, but which is all good. So just to wrap this up.
We'll have to do Diddy another day. Peace out.
No. So we talked about this a little bit earlier on and kind of sprinkled throughout. So today in court, basically it was Bryan Kohberger saying yes 4 times. And again, his voice was not like I expected. The judge said, "Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?" He said yes. The judge said, "Did you on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence of 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?" He said yes. So after the plea, the state's prosecutors delivered a lengthy outline of the evidence that would have been presented against Kohberger at trial, including phone records that placed so many of the victims' homes, an account of how he moved through the home on the night of the killings, etc. Again, but yes, they gave a lengthy outline, but we're not going to know what the real full volume of their case was in a span, for a little bit of time that they would have presented that today. So Kohberger's sentencing hearing is set for July 23rd at 9 a.m. So he will remain in jail until that time. In regards to, like Beckham said, the victims' families, I'm sure there'll be statements by some of them definitely well before this, because they've made a statement very quickly after the plea deal. So I would expect something after today. But again, July 23rd will be where the sentencing will be taking place. So we'll definitely keep you guys posted on that. But yeah, I will say this whole plea deal just kind of shocked all of us. So, all right. Again, everybody in the chat, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. It's all okay here. Safe place, safe place. So Tony Stewart jumping ahead here. Diddy, yes, we will just kind of briefly touch on Diddy, just because again, just a little bit that came out today in regards to the verdict. Beckham, you still there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I had to get a drink.
Well, why don't you be a doll and get me a coffee? I'm just saying.
It's too late.
I could drink a coffee and then go right to bed. Like, does not.
Right now, even the most sugary one.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
I know it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. Okay, so in regards to switching gears, Puff Daddy. This is another one of those ones that a lot of emotions are going on right now.
Yeah, I know, and I don't. It's confusing actually, but let's tackle it.
All right, I agree with Shelley.
Oh God, there's nothing open right now.
I disagree. Maybe not like right where I am, but you go, yeah, we can find a place. We can find a Starbucks that's open. So Sean Diddy Combs today was found not guilty of one count of racketeering. Wait. Yes, not guilty of one count of racketeering, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. So that's what he was found not guilty of. However, he was found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. After the verdict was read, his family stood up, clapped, cheered. I did not witness this, but according to the media, Puff Daddy fell to his knees in prayer after he left the courtroom and told his family, "Thank you, I love you." One of the T-shirts that I heard was being sported yesterday and today was I was telling my coworker about this today. Frico doesn't equal Rico. I was like, that is, such in poor taste. Makes me so angry. But anyway, so now that he was found guilty of some of the charges, he needs to be sentenced to those charges. So the prostitution transportation charge carries as much as 10 years in prison per count. It's worth noting that the prosecutor, Maureen Comey, said the government would seek the maximum of 20 years. Defense attorney Mark Agnefello told the judge that they wanted Puffy to be released from federal detention. Obviously, that's been what they've tried to do since like day one. They asked for his release on conditions that he reside in his home in Miami, and they offered a $1 million bond. The judge said he would, at first he said, and this was like around my lunchtime, he was going to review whether or not to release Puffy later today after receiving arguments from the prosecutors and the defense about this. So after lunch, it came in that the judge denied Diddy bail. He said that Diddy has not shown any, quote, exceptional, end quote, circumstances that would necessitate his release, and that Diddy's defense attorneys did not prove that he wouldn't be a danger to others upon his release from jail. The judge said, quote, "It is impossible for the defendant to demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he poses no danger," end quote. The judge proposed a sentence date hearing of February. Did I just say February? Friday, October 3rd at 10 a.m. Friday, October 3rd, 10 a.m. Tony Stewart, that's what you were. I saw that you were posting that earlier. But the thing is, the judge proposed a sentencing date that they were willing to do it, like expedite it. If the defense wanted, And Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's lawyer, said yes to expedite it. So the judge will take that under advisement. Until then, Sean Diddy Combs will remain in federal lockup. So that is as much as we know now. I know there was talks of Diddy already planning, and this was like last week or the week before, a 4th of July party because he knew he was going to be out. Well, it looks like he won't be at that party. But I know a lot of people have, this has brought up a lot of emotions for a lot of people because a lot of victims put themselves out here for this trial. And for those that didn't, a lot of victims who are kind of watching this, kind of seeing if it sets a precedence, and most likely feel let down by the system. Cassie Ventura, immediately, her lawyer released a statement that, keep him in jail. I am at risk. Other victims are at risk from him. Like, he is a danger to us. So I'm glad that the judge.
I mean, yeah. So when this happened this morning, it was just a lot of information, a lot of questions. What actually happened? I do know that I was trying to get information from real lawyers and people that are in that that world that are in the know, right? To have a better understanding of what happened. I was talking about that journalist that I said started in Dallas, went to CNN, then has her own platform now. She actually put it in with what happened this morning with the non-guilty and the guilty verdicts. As far as the non-guilty went, she was angered by it because how she put it made complete sense. She basically said with the sex trafficking thing and that those charges, by not guilty, you're taking the power. I feel like if she felt like women just went backwards 50 years with the fact of you're how she said it was, you're basically saying even if a woman is married, that she cannot be raped still. That's kind of how she put it. And I was like, oh my God, it makes complete sense. She's like, now you're saying, yeah, just because she's in something or a long time ago and it was a happy time and she went along with it and everything like that, doesn't make it right later on when it's officially rape. Right?
Yeah.
And how she really talked about it, really, like it made sense to me. I was like, man, that's a really good point. And that's what she felt was lost today with those non-guilty verdicts. Okay. And she made complete sense by that. She's like, she was like, I think the jurors were in the mindset of just because they saw a little bit of evidence from previously that a couple of women were like, oh, into it and okay with it, doesn't make it right that they weren't later on and they were forced into other things later on. That's two completely different things. And the second one is not okay. And that's wrong. And that's what happened. And they, that's where she said they made a mistake and they felt they'd taken away the power of from women when it comes down to that. And she she knocked it out of the park with that. It made it more real. It made it simpler to understand especially coming from a woman, right? And it made complete sense. Now, with the guilty stuff and just listening to professionals, I'm hearing some things like, he can still, of course, it's going to come down to the judge. The judge has the ultimate power here in these initial proceedings, right? Like today, the judge, denied his bail, right? You already covered all that, well, the whys and all that. I was like, at first I was like, if this judge grants Diddy bail, then he's gone. He's gonna pull a Polanski. You're never gonna see him again. But he stood his ground. He denied his bail. It was early on in the morning where it was being, there was rambles circulation that Diddy he thanked the jury. He winked at him. He smiled. He put his hands together, thanked them. but he was confident in his family that he told them, hey, I'll be home for the fireworks, for the July 4th, party or something, right? He was that confident that he felt he was going to be given bail. But of course, the judge denied this bail. He's going to stay there until the sentencing happens. But man, it's just a lot going on with that, with the clarification of what the guilty actually means. There's a lot of uncertainty with what it meant. There's clarity been given and what could happen to him, with the extent of the law within how the judge will make the ruling. He could get 20 years, up to 20 years consecutive with those two charges that he was found guilty. He could get 10 years per charge. That's 20 years. This is a federal case, so he would likely serve 95% of that time. So it could be like, if he got the 20 years, it would be like anywhere from 17 to 20 years that he would serve that time. However, he's gonna he'll be able to appeal it, and that'll be a whole different thing. Where I don't know what could happen there, right? We don't know yet. We have to still finish the sentencing phase, but I'm hoping that the stricter the judge makes it, the harder it will be during the appeals process. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hope that's what you're hoping for. I've seen some stuff out there about that the feds failed at their job and this and that. I mean, yeah, I mean, what I took from that is that, you got to remember, man, they lost a couple of key witnesses. One of them went missing. I don't think they ever found her. She went missing. She's gone. Either something happened to her or she got scared. There's another witness that didn't come through, or which I think they could have nailed the other charges, but unfortunately they didn't have those 2 to 3 key witnesses that did not make it to the trial. So they had to re-strategize. This was probably the best outcome they could have had. And as far as they lost, I think what they meant by that is the amount of money that was used for resources to nail him down, the raids, all of that, right? And the time to prepare for this case, all of that takes money. It takes budgets, things like that, time away from other cases, resources from other cases, things like that. So with all that said, all that time and money spent to try to get the complete sweep, did they fail? I mean, I wouldn't call it a complete failure, but of course they didn't get the complete sweep of the 5 verdicts, but they might have gotten enough for him to spend the rest of it, not the rest of his life, because now, I'm sorry, with the non-guilty ones, life is off the table. You can't go for that, but you can still go for the maximum of 20 years, which would be ultimately, he's in his late 50s, so he would be like late 70s. So you're taking, and again, I told you guys, this is a federal case. He would have to serve all that time, most of that time, since it's federal. And I think the magic number was 12. If it's more than 12 years, the government keeps all of his resources. They take it all, the cars, the money, the houses, everything they keep. So that's another thing that's on the that's going to be on the table. But we'll see how the sentencing goes with the judge. It's going to be in his hands to this point, and I'm hoping that it's for the maximum, so that it makes it more difficult for the appeal process, because it could be lenient here initially with the sentencing, and then he just walks at the appeal. That could happen, and I think if that happens, so many people would be sick to their stomachs.
I mean, so many people already are sick to their stomachs.
I know, but I mean, right? I understand that, and a lot of people would be scared, running scared, because he would walk. At least right now, he's stuck. He's stuck for now because the judge did hold the denial in the bail. So at least that was a win for now, considering.
Kind of going off what you were just saying, the up to 20 years.
Yeah.
The judge, could be more lenient with him.
He could.
But based on the judge's statements, like, the judge seems to really get the severity of the situation, is what I took from it, that he is a danger to other people and should not be released. So I would like to think that when sentencing comes, the judge will consider that. I don't know. I don't know. yeah, like going off kind of what you were saying a little bit earlier too about like a lot of the statements in regards to the women, like, and how this is being perceived for these victims. Like, if you guys go back to the um, defense's closing arguments, like a lot of what was said was so cringy. It was horrible. And I'm thinking, how did the jury hear those closing statements and not vote the way they did? It was just very, which is what we saw all along, kind of blaming the victim. And it, it was just the way like the statements they did were like horrific. But look where we are, unfortunately. So I see a bunch of y'all talking about like your.
Danny, there's no way to go. Like I was telling, I was bouncing back and forth with people all day about it. You have you have people that are in the business of lawyers, and they do this for a living. They were like, man, this is for what it is. This was a win. He will never see the light of day. You had others kind of like, well, things could happen still, kind of not completely sure, right? Because the life sentence is off the table now. So that leaves room for whatever that could happen in the appeal, basically. So ultimately, it's going to be on this judge. And it's all in his hands now, right? At this point in time. And at least, like I said, for now, the win was that he denied his bail, because that would have been very telling to this point right now of where it stood. And he literally shut that door. He shut it down. He's in jail. He will be there until it's there. He's ready for the sentencing. I'm not sure, that could be a long while, actually. Now, it's not going to be tomorrow or next week. It's going to be a while. I'm not
we
sure
don't
exactly
at
the
the
time
latest
frame.
October 3rd, but the judge said we can do it earlier.
So, well, right. We don't know, but it's going to be at least a month, right? So maybe, at least a month. But at least, like I said, at least for now, he was denied the bail. That showed a lot of like, that, hey, that fist, that, hey, I'm going to hold it down for now with this decision, because like I said, in order for justice to be served, he's going to have to pretty much, man, give him a hard like sentence, if not the max, for it to hold out for the appeal process. Because then that's another phase, completely different thing there.
Yeah.
So for now, at least the door was shut with the denial of the bail.
Gosh. So let's see what some of y'all have been saying. Discerning Light, I thought he was guilty on all counts except racketeering. K-Dog, he didn't get charged for beating his girlfriend. So Cassie Ventura on video, did he? No.
Yeah. Again, that's what
shocking.
That's what that journalist was saying.
Thank you, Shelley. Love you. Much appreciated. Let's see. K-Dog, I think he'll go broke fighting civil cases. Oh, 100%. 100%. Discerning Light, well, wouldn't an appeal open the door for more discovery? That's out of my expertise. I don't know.
I don't that would be, I don't know, maybe, but you're not going to get anything more. I mean, you might be able to say, like, you're not going to be able to get any more time. Like, he won't be, you know what I mean? Like, the judge, this is what the judge is going to, like, it's going to be, you might be able to solidify your stance or your case, but you're not going to be able to get more time added or anything like that. That's already been made. That would already have been made by the judge. That's why we're hoping the judge gives them the maximum of 10 years with each, so that during the appeal, it could be, if it's going to be lessened, it can be lessened. You want the number to be more than 12.
Yeah.
12 years, because in the federal, and this is federal, so it's pretty much at the end of it, whatever the time is, he's going to serve that time. And there is none of this, well, with good time served and all, no. It's pretty much the standard. You're gonna serve the time that you're given. The only thing that will be taken off is the time already served, which is now, which is what he's serving now. These months that he's been serving. Yes.
Kane, unfortunately, he'll probably not do any time.
If the judge is lenient and then he wins the appeal, yeah, that's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
Kane. Yes, it's a possibility.
Yeah. James, his net worth was around $1 billion. I doubt he has or will have to spend that much to fight this. I mean, yeah, his team alone for this, millions.
Oh, yeah.
Millions. Shelley, James wants to know a lot of those monies are going to be seized by the federal government for other reasons, so he's not going to have that much to work with. Yeah, that's what Beckham was saying.
Well, there has to be a specific number. That number is, I think, 12 for 12 years. 12. See, I think 14 is too high. I think it's 12, but it could be 14.
What are you talking about? She's talking about in regards to his money. It's going to be seized.
Right. If he's found guilty and has to serve 12 years or more.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Or 14. It could be 14. I'm not sure if it's 12 or 14. It's one of those.
You guys are horrible. Horrible. Wolf, seems like they should have charged him with some other crimes, drugs.
Well, they tried, but they just Wolf. There was 3 key witnesses that didn't show up. I think one of them like disappeared off the face of the earth. The other 2, I think they just relinquished their right to take the stand.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were just too scared.
In some of the, what was it, last week we talked about that some of the charges, I don't have the notes in front of me offhand, that some of the charges that the prosecution made, they dropped going into
and that was a strategy. That was a strategy purpose, right? Because you
to introduce evidence.
Right, exactly. Yes, to introduce evidence, because at that point you would have made it more difficult for yourself. And then look, the jury found not guilty. You would have been not guilty. You would have been screwed. So they strategized. They did that a little bit different. Yes.
K-Dog says something doesn't smell right with this trial. Too many big names with a lot to lose, maybe. I mean, when you're dealing with somebody, celebrity cases are tough. And this is just
that court, the New York, whatever, Southern Court, whatever it's called, the Southern District of New York, whatever, they hate to lose. I made that adamant off the bat. If he gets the maximum, if he goes to prison, let's just say he goes to prison for more than 10 years, they're going to take that as a win.
I mean, yeah. You can look at it both sides. Like, yes, he was found guilty on some. Yes, he was found not guilty on others.
If they would have got the sweep, his life would have been over, completely over. He would have gone life, and I mean, it would have been over. Any constituents their lives would have been over. Any any basis for anything, or it would have been gone. All of it would have just been.
James makes a very interesting point. I bet if he gets out, the civil cases won't come to fruition due to fear of him. Shelley asked for clarification, violence and threats against them. I mean, even Cassie Ventura had her attorney making a statement immediately. Like,
yes,
keep him in. I honestly
think that's the judge. Now, did the judge? Yeah, good point, Danny. Did he deny bail for the safety of others, or did he deny bail because he felt that he really was guilty?
The judge said that Puff Daddy did not prove that he wasn't a danger to other people and other women.
Right. Yeah. I think it covers both. I think the judge knows he did a lot of stuff. He just, you know what I mean? And also he's a threat to society or whatever. I think the judge literally felt both when he made the decision.
Yeah. So we will see what comes of this in regards to when a sentencing date is. We do not have that right now. The judge said October 3rd, but said to the defense, we can do it earlier if you would like. Mark Agnifilo said yes. So Once we get a date
James,
for that,
yeah.
we will see. Because a lot of eyes are on this right now to see what's
James,
gonna
that's what I meant. Sorry, they don't lose. They don't hardly lose.
James, thank you I'm going to give you a star for correcting Beckham because that really makes me happy. I can't be the only one to tell him he's always wrong. So anyway, all right, folks, we are just under 2 hours tonight. Oh my goodness! But thank you all so much for being here tonight and for being so open with your thoughts and opinions and concerns and uncertainties with a lot of what's going on right now. Again, the Kohberger and Sean, Puff Daddy trial. There's a lot of emotions on both ends.
Dude, Suge Knight came out last night, and just went off on Diddy.
I'm sure. I haven't checked 50 Cent's Instagram
dude,
yet.
Well, 50 Cent called him I don't know. 50 Cent is weird about it. But Suge Knight went and was just saying all kinds of stuff that Diddy was into last night.
I'll have to look that up for sure.
It was way more than I talked about. Well, I talked about the more on the Tupac thing, but yeah, dude, he just went off on Diddy, saying what he was into and doing all this other stuff, and it was just wow, well, I don't know, man. That's what they said today.
That's what they said. Richard,
the jury.
If he gets out, he'll be a threat to the national baby oil supply. Richard, that's an excellent way to just have us end on just a little bit of a lighthearted, what a travesty. I don't want to forget this. So again, a lot of messages from y'all about this, both Kohberger and
Hey, any messages being that, hey, Beckham's the best thing ever?
Well, if anybody sent me that type of message, I'd assume it was a troll account. Even if it said the name Shelly, I'd be like, that can't be the real Shelly. No. So a friend of mine, again, I don't dox, I won't name names. So, when this came out, was messaging me, and he said so we were just like, oh my gosh, this is how did this happen? There's in regards to Puff Daddy, sorry, I should have clarified. There's video of him, body slamming his ex to the ground, and back and forth, how. So then he says, we went into an alternate timeline. I think Doc and Marty were messing around with things again. I liked that. It was just a much needed breath of all right, we just need a moment to be this is so messed up. But anyway, well, I thought you would laugh, Beckham. I found it funny.
Ha 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 ha.
Someone's going to screen grab that, and when you're arrested for something, God knows how long down the road, that evil laugh will come back and haunt you.
Was it scary?
No, it wasn't scary. It was creepy.
I can do Elmo.
No, let's please not do that. Discerning light, I don't think this is over. Yeah. We'll see.
Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, it's not. We still have the appeal, and we still have to see what the judge on the sentencing, what the judge said.
Sentence, and then Diddy's defense attorneys, regardless of the sentence, can file an appeal and will file an appeal. We can all expect that. Let's just, so no one's shocked, oh my God, they filed an appeal. They're going to file an appeal. He could be sentenced to 6 months. They're going to file an appeal. So, all right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this episode of breaking down kind of what's been going on with the Bryan Kohberger plea deal and the Sean Diddy Combs verdict. So again, it's 4th of July week and weekend. So I will be unavailable. Beckham, I would say he'll be unavailable, but he'll be probably blowing up my phone as always, annoying me, doing what he does best. So yeah, there's that. But I'll be back next week for, back to regularly scheduled programming. So everybody, if you are from here in the States, have a safe and healthy and happy 4th of July holiday. Keep your pets indoors. Keep your pets indoors. It's like one of those times of years things can go so bad. Keep your pets indoors. And anyway, and if you are not from the States but just tuning in, have a great rest of your week and weekend. Thank you, Beckham, for joining as always. And we will see y'all next time. And remember, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us. Bye, everyone.